You keep wondering why love hasn't arrived, why you're still attracting unavailable men, why your heart feels ready, but nothing ever stays. But what if it's not about timing, or fate, or finding the right one? What if it's about the energy you're carrying, the stories you've been living, the love you keep giving everyone else, except yourself? In this video, we dive into 5 deep, emotional signs that you might be unconsciously blocking your soulmate's path, not because you're broken, but because you've been surviving in protection mode, instead of receiving in truth. If your heart is tired but still hopeful, this is your mirror. Let's begin sign 1. You're still loving from a place of survival, not wholeness *, the origin of survival love *. There's a kind of love that doesn't feel like love. It feels like a transaction. It says, if I give enough, stay soft enough, prove I'm safe enough, maybe I'll finally be chosen. But that isn't love. That's survival. It's the echo of a childhood where love had conditions, where silence meant safety, where your needs made you feel like a burden. So you learned to give without asking, to smile while aching, to anticipate everyone else's pain and ignore your own. And that pattern didn't disappear when you became an adult. It just dressed itself in romance. Now, you enter relationships not with openness, but with armor made of performance. You become the emotionally responsible one, the peacekeeper, the overloyal woman who stays in connections long after her soul has left. Not because you don't know your worth, but because you never had space to feel it. That's not your fault. That was adaptation. It was wisdom born in a house where love was survival. But your soulmate, the one who's meant to meet the real you, isn't looking for the version of you that performs peace. He's looking for the woman underneath, the one who doesn't need to love to believe she deserves it. The energy that pushes love away the soulmate you long for isn't repelled by your beauty. He's not afraid of your past. He's not avoiding you because something is wrong with you. But he can't find you if the energy you're radiating still whispers, I'm not safe unless I'm needed. Because survival love is loud. It's filled with silent tension. It performs softness while bracing for loss. It tries to control what should be received. It overfunctions in the name of love. But beneath it is a fear that says, if I stop trying, I'll be abandoned. And real love doesn't land in fear. It doesn't respond to the performance of devotion. It responds to presence, to stillness, to a woman who no longer chases, because she's no longer starving. Your soulmate can only rise to meet you when the space you hold is no longer filled with proving, but with peace, with self-trust, with the kind of silence that says, I am enough, even if no one arrives today. * The invitation to be seen of your relationships have always required you to give more than you receive. If you stayed silent to keep peace, softened to avoid rejection, or worked endlessly to deserve love, this is not a flaw, it's a signal. A message from your nervous system, still wired for survival, still calling love what once hurt you, but the kind of love your soul is asking for now. It won't come through effort. It won't come through shrinking, pleasing, or endlessly explaining yourself. It will only come when you stop hiding behind how much you can give and allow yourself to receive. Because your soulmate isn't trying to find the perfect version of you. He's seeking the true one, the woman who has stopped begging to be seen and instead has turned inward and remembered her own reflection. Healing the way you love isn't about becoming more. It's about becoming honest. And that honesty will become your magnet, because the moment you stop loving from survival is the moment you start allowing love to finally find you seen too. You're still entangled with someone who has never meant to stay *, the ghost you keep carrying some time. Yes, the one blocking your soulmate's path is the man who already left. not physically, but energetically. He's the memory that still burns, the what-if that still haunts, the conversation you still replay at night. And even if he's gone from your life, he's still occupying space. In your heart that was meant for someone else, you keep saying you're ready for new love. But part of you is still hoping he'll come back better, still waiting for closure, still building invisible altars to the man who never chose you. And what you don't realize is, your soulmate can't enter a room already filled with ghosts. Grief is sacred. But emotional entanglement is not love. It's a quiet form of bondage, one where your present is still being shaped by someone who never saw your future. And as long as you're loyal to that ache, you're unavailable to the one who's trying to meet your the weight of unfinished love. Unfinished love is heavy. It lingers not because of what it was, but because of what it almost became. And that almost can become a prison. You carry it into new connections like invisible luggage. You compare. You protect. You flinch when someone comes too close. Not because they've done anything wrong, but because they're walking through a heart still guarded by the wounds of another. You don't talk about him anymore, but he's still there in the silence, in the way you hesitate before trusting, in the way you second-guess someone's kindness, in the way your nervous system braces for abandonment, even when you're being loved. This is how soulmates pass you by, not because you're not ready to love, but because you're still loving someone who let go long ago. And the deeper truth is this: you're not waiting for him. You're waiting for who you became when you loved him. But she's not coming back, because who you are now is the woman who finally deserves more. Letting go as an act of readiness. Letting go isn't forgetting. It's honoring what was and choosing what can be. It's not denial of the past. It's devotion to the present. Because love that's meant for you cannot compete with the echoes of someone who never stayed. Your soulmate isn't arriving to fix what he broke. He's arriving to build what that pain prepared you for. But he can't find you if your energy still clings to fragments, to words never spoken, to the story where you're always waiting for someone who isn't coming. There's nothing romantic about self-abandonment in the name of closure. There's nothing noble about staying emotionally loyal to someone who was never emotionally available. The love that's meant for you won't arrive while your soul is still rehearsing lost. So release him, not for him, for you. Because the moment you create space is the moment love finally knows where to land. Sign 3. You're afraid of receiving the very love you say you want. The hidden fear beneath the longing you say you want. Love. Real love. The kind that sees you, stays, meets you where you are, not where you pretend to be. But if you're honest, something inside you tightens at the thought of actually being loved that deeply. Because receiving love means letting yourself be seen. Not the curated version of you, not the woman who's always composed, agreeable, easy to hold, but the one who cries in secret, who gets angry, who doubts herself, who sometimes doesn't feel worthy of anything. And that's terrifying, because if someone loves her, the real you, then the risk is greater. Now there's something to lose. Now you can't hide behind performance or perfection. Now you have to let love in, and trust it won't leave once it sees what's inside. So you sabotage, quietly. You chase unavailable men. You overlook red flags. You delay your healing. Because a part of you is still protecting the wound that whispers. If they see the real me, they'll walk away. The armor that masquerades as independence. You've become so self-sufficient that no one sees your need. So independent that love feels like intrusion. So emotionally capable that you've forgotten what it's like to be held. You wear strength like a shield. Not because you want to, but because you had to. You stopped asking for help a long time ago. Because help wasn't reliable, or safe, or consistent. So now, even when love knocks at your door, you hesitate, you retreat, you question the motive behind the kindness, you fear the weight of expectation that might come with it. Because to receive love means surrender, and surrender feels like exposure, and exposure feels like danger. So instead of opening, you overthink. Instead of trusting, you test. Instead of softening, you perform being fine. But your soulmate doesn't want your performance. He wants your presence, not your self-sacrifice, not your silence, just you unarmored. And the truth is, he can't love you if you won't. Let yourself be loved. Letting yourself be loved without earning it or receive love isn't weakness. It's an act of courage, because it means trusting that you are enough, without doing, fixing, performing, or proving. It means letting someone hold the parts of you that have always held everyone else, letting someone witness your unpolished truth, not as something to fix, but as something worthy of staying for. It means softening into the arms of someone, without fearing that softness will be used against you. That's the kind of love you're calling in, and that love isn't fragile. It won't shame you for needing. It won't punish you for feeling. It won't require you to become smaller just to be accepted, but to receive it. You must choose trust over control, presence over protection, and stop hiding behind the belief that love must be earned. Because the love you seek will only find you when you finally believe that you don't have to fight for it. You only have to allow it. Sign 4. You're still abandoning yourself in the name of connection *, the quiet self-betrayal *. There's a way we abandon ourselves without even realizing. Not through violence, but through subtle silence. You don't say what you feel. You don't ask for what you need. You stay when something in you is begging to go, and you call it connection. You lower your voice so he doesn't pull away. You soften your needs so you don't seem too much. You laugh at things that hurt, you nod at things that confuse, and piece by piece, you disappear. Not because he asked you to, but because you believed it was the only way to be loved. This is how self-abandonment hides, not in chaos, but in over-adaptation. In being the easy woman, the one who never complains, the one who always understands. But connection that costs your truth is not intimacy. It's performance, and your soulmate can't meet you in the role you play. He can only meet the woman who refuses to leave herself, even for love. The silence that pushes love away. Your soulmate isn't looking for someone who agrees with everything. He's not seeking obedience. He's seeking truth. But if you've been trained to equate peace with silence, you'll keep suppressing your intuition just to avoid conflict. You tell yourself you're being mature, that you're choosing love over ego. But deep down, you're choosing fear over honesty, fear of being rejected, fear of being too much, fear of being left. Just like before. So you shrink, soften, disappear inside the version of you that feels safer to love, but not safer to be. And in doing so, you send a signal to the universe. I will choose love over myself. But the love you're seeking, the love that heals, won't arrive in a space built on your absence. It can't land in a relationship where your truth has no place, where your emotions are edited, where your softness is weaponized, where your boundaries are blurred. The man who's meant to meet you fully needs to meet all of you. Not just the parts that fit into his comfort, but the parts that hold your power. Coming home to yourself. First love your calling in won't ask you to leave yourself. It will ask you to return to the voice you buried beneath politeness, to the fire you dimmed in the name of peace, to the intuition you ignored to avoid losing him. Because your soulmate isn't looking for the version of you that's convenient. He's looking for the woman who's whole, And wholeness requires truth. So speak what you feel. Even if your voice shakes, hold your boundaries. Even if they walk away, ask for what you need. Even if it scares you. Because if love cannot meet you in your fullness, then it's not love. It's accommodation, and you weren't born to accommodate. You were born to embody the woman who no longer abandons herself. Becomes impossible to abandon, because she is finally home, and real love will always know where to find a sign 5. You're still attached to who you were, not who. You're becoming the identity that no longer fits sometimes. The thing blocking your soulmate isn't another person. It's the older version of you, the woman who survived betrayal, who learned to distrust tenderness, who found strength in being needed, but never held, who mastered the art of independence so deeply, she forgot how to receive softness without suspicion. And even though part of you is healing, another part is still clinging to that identity, because it kept you safe. It made you strong. It gave you purpose, even if that purpose was built in pain. Now, love comes to you not as a rescue, but as a mirror. And it terrifies the self you've outgrown, because to receive the love you're calling in, you must release the woman who only knew how to love through struggle. And that feels like death, a quiet mourning of the role you once played. The identity that once protected you, but now stands in the way of what you truly deserve. The cost of staying the same transformation sounds beautiful, until it asks you to leave behind the self who kept you safe. The self who knew how to stay silent to avoid conflict. The self who accepted crumbs because she didn't know there was a feast. The self who attracted men who mirrored her old wounds, not her new worth. And here's the ache most women never speak aloud. We fear losing who we were, even when who we were was hurting us. Because she was familiar. She had a script. She kept us guarded. She made sure we never reached too far or felt too much. But the love you're calling in, it lives beyond her. It asks you to stop proving, to stop fixing, to stop performing. And to finally start receiving. Not as a role, but as your right. This is where many women pause. Not because they don't want love, but because real love requires becoming someone they've never been allowed to be. Becoming the woman love can find. Your soulmate isn't just looking for you. He's looking for the version of you that's no longer afraid to be loved. Not the woman who needs to be everything for everyone. Not the woman who mistakes sacrifice for devotion. Not the woman who disappears inside relationships just to be chosen. He's seeking the woman who has reclaimed her wholeness, who doesn't fear her softness, who doesn't apologize for her depth, who doesn't dilute herself to be digestible. And that woman, she lives on the other side of letting go, of shedding the outdated self, of releasing the old definitions of strength, value, and love. Because when you stop trying to be the woman they once needed, you become the woman who finally receives what she needs. That's when your soulmate appears, not to complete you, but to meet you fully, honestly, completely. And in that meeting, you'll realize he didn't arrive because you became more. He arrived because you finally became yourself. You've waited long enough, not just for him, but for you, for the version of yourself that no longer abandons her needs to feel loved, who no longer begs with silence, who no longer confuses attention with devotion, who no longer shrinks just to be kept, the woman who no longer hides, who no longer wears pain as proof of her loyalty, who no longer performs for crumbs of closeness, but instead chooses herself in the fullness of her truth. You are not hard to love. You are just done pretending you're smaller than you are, and that shift changes everything. Your soulmate isn't behind time. He's behind clarity. He's waiting for the moment you stop trying to become lovable. And remember that you already are. So this isn't the end. It's a returning to your own breath, to your own voice, to your own worth, because the love that's meant for you will never ask you to leave yourself behind to find it. It will meet you where you finally begin. Asterisk, if you're still here, you are the kind of woman who feels deeply, who loves with her whole soul, who has been through the ache of almosts and the silence of not being fully met. You didn't just watch this video, you felt it, and that matters because it means something inside you is ready. Ready to stop pretending, ready to stop waiting, ready to start receiving the kind of love that doesn't require your disappearance. So tell me in the comments, not just what you thought, but what this opened inside of you. What did you recognize? What are you finally willing to release? What kind of love are you no longer willing to accept? Because your voice matters. Your story might be the very reflection another woman needs to feel less alone. And in this space, your truth is never too much. If this video spoke to your soul, subscribe. Not because I want more numbers, but because you deserve a place where your depth is not only welcomed, but honored. This is your mirror. This is your sacred space. And I'm grateful you're here, always.